Okay, hello. So, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to Bike Bites, which is our short talks event, part of Bowland Cycling Festival. We're here this afternoon to celebrate what cycling and bikes mean to us in various different ways. We've got four very different perspectives. I've organised this because I think that bikes and cycling can be the solution to pretty much any problem. And for the first person who's going to speak, we found that racing bikes have been the solution to pretty much the biggest problem that any of us can imagine facing. So here's Nick Dinsdale, who's going to talk to us about racing through Chemo.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for being invited, and thank you to everybody for attending. This little thing here, for those that don't know, that's your prostate. And there is a link or interaction with regard to cycling. Heading is racing with Chemo. March 2018, very unexpectedly, I was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. And not only that, it was very aggressive. It was ranked on what they call the Gleason scale, 9 out of 10 for aggressiveness. And my prognosis was survival rate 50-50. But that was based on having maximum exposure, having maximum treatment. If I elected not to have maximum treatment, my chances were going to be less. However, by opting for maximum treatment, there were going to be consequences. There could be permanent damage to my bladder, to my bowels, with radiotherapy, but also chemo is very aggressive on the cardiovascular system. Anyway, I chose to go down the line of having maximum treatment, with the exception of having treatment, full treatment within my pelvic region. I opted just to go for the prostate, which was a risk. However, as a result of it, cancer, it's a nasty thing, and if it hits you, it plays havoc in your mind. And one thing that I found out, and I want to share with you, that cancer is fought in the mind as well as in the body clinically. If you can fight it in your mind, it's another real strong intervention. And not only that, it allows you to dwell on positives rather than negatives. And cycling, particularly cycling, was my way of getting rid of negative thoughts and creating nothing but positive thoughts. And I decided I was going to continue to race right through treatment. And as I say, cycling and racing, I'm going to say racing, I was doing time trials, I was doing mountain bike events, I was doing duathlons, triathlons, running events, on-road, off-road. Cycling along with racing provided me with those essential ingredients to beat cancer. No matter what cancer you've got, and it's not just cycling, if you get your mind around it, if you're a swimmer, swim. If you're a runner, run. But to have something to do focuses the mind, but it's ideal not only physiologically, but psychologically, because you do get the physiological benefits as you're going through the treatment process. It really helps. This is my first ever triathlon, August 2018. I'd always been a runner, cyclist, on-road, off-road, and I did duathlons, and sort of 8 years ago I was national, 9 years ago I was national, at 60 I was national duathlon champion for my age group. But I never done a triathlon because I couldn't swim. And I've been told my prognosis, and I noticed my 3 daughters had all entered a triathlon at West Lancs at Ormskirk. It's held within the grounds and facilities of Edgehill University. So I was on chemo. I went up to Stoniers, and I asked for private lessons, one-to-one. I said, look, I just want to do 16 lengths. And I learned to swim, and I entered the event, but I didn't tell my daughters. And I turned up and did my first triathlon with my daughters, and we got a picture with our medals together, and you can see I was on chemo. And unbeknown to me, I thought, this is bloody hard work on the bike. I was riding tubs on my time trial bike, and the back tyre had gone down, and I rode all the way around on a flat tyre, but I just assumed it was the effects of chemo. That year I actually did 23 events in total, first year of treatment, and I've had 3 years of extensive treatment. This was my second triathlon. My wife had never done one before, and I said, I've got a surprise for you. I've got a birthday surprise for you. I've entered into the Fleetwood triathlon. So we actually went along, and she managed to get round.
She's not doing anymore.
Family support is absolutely essential when you're going through a traumatic period such as this. Phil? I finished 3 months of chemo, and I had maximum radiotherapy, 37 days, and I had the audacity to enter the National Road Duathlon Championship, 65 to 69, which was down, it was near Basingstoke. And I kept training throughout, but the chemo had obviously taken its toll, and I actually got second place. Okay. Then in July, I'd already qualified the previous year to do the European Cross Duathlons Championships over 65s, and this was in Transylvania. And considering the treatment I'd had, I was quite fit and quite lean. And I finished 5th overall, but I actually got up to 3rd place at one stage, but I just didn't have the background stamina. Okay. That's the same, that was on the bike, this is running into the actual finish. Okay. One of the things I said when I was first diagnosed, because I didn't know how long, I didn't know what was going to happen, I said I want to do the Alpe d'Huez duathlon, or at least I want to get there on the start line if possible. And by this time, I said I'd finished chemo, I'd finished radiotherapy, but I was on hormone therapy for 3 years. And it was the hormone therapy that actually took the most out of me, and as I stand now, it's the hormone therapy for 3 years that's really depleted me. But at this stage, I'd only been on hormone therapy about 9 months, I think. Anyway, I trained during the winter on the turbo, and I'd incline the turbo of the bike at 8 degrees to simulate the constant 8% climb of Alpe d'Huez. And I subscribed to Roubaix, I think it was, so I could actually visualise going up Alpe d'Huez. Okay. Not only did I finish it, but I actually won my age group, over 65s. And we went up a few days earlier, 3 days earlier, to actually just recce the course and asked my daughter and son-in-law, and it was so hot, it was 36 degrees, and you had to do an 8k run in the bottom, and then you rode up, and then you did a 5k at the top. We decided you couldn't race not being acclimatised to it. It was a case of survival. And one of the things I think that really, without doubt, helped was that kept hydrated, and all the time when there were opportunities to stop on the way up Alpe d'Huez, and you could pour water on you, and all the time we were just pouring water on into our shoes, into our shorts, simply to keep the core temperature down. Not being used to that heat at that time and climbing, so it was about 36 degrees. So, just I want to share awareness. This is only applicable to males, of course, but prostate cancer, it caught me by surprise. I class myself as educated. We run Sports Injury Centre. My youngest daughter's an eye surgeon, and I'd been having prostate problems for 10 years, and I kept going and having it checked. Don't worry, don't worry. And my GP says, I can assure you haven't got prostate cancer. I saw somebody else, and it was diagnosed immediately, and they said another 3 months we wouldn't be treating you. My bloods were normal, and supposedly when I had a finger check, what they call a digital examination, that was normal, but the digital examination where they feel your prostate, it's subject to the skill, experience and reliability of the tester. And if the young GPs, they don't always have that knowledge.
Why, when your doctor said you were clear, what made you have a second opinion?
Because I felt...
Did you?
Yeah, because I'd had problems and it was just progressing. I kept having blood tests. I've been having blood tests for 10 years, and the blood tests were coming back normal. Prostate cancer is the most prevalent cancer amongst men, and it's now white European. 1 in 8, 1 in 7 men will have prostate cancer. If it's in the family, if it's a brother or a father, your chances of getting prostate cancer are 1 in 2, stroke 1 in 3. And it's from about the age of 50 you need to be aware, 45, 50. Americans, Caribbean, Africans, sort of, it's 1 in 4 for some reason. Okay. Now, screening for prostate cancer, even though it's the most prevalent, there's about 50,000 1,000 new cases a year. A lot of people that are diagnosed have what they call a slow-growing cancer, prostate cancer, and they can survive, and sometimes they don't need treatment, or sometimes they can get away with relatively light treatment. But if you get what we call the very aggressive one, which I had, it can be 12 months. Now the tests, you go to a GP, effectively you've got, well, 3, but really 2. PSA, the measuring the protein that's released by the prostate within the bloodstream. And the problem is that this test, 1 in 7 men will have a false reading. And there is no definitive screening available within the health system, not like breast cancer, simply because the tests that are available are not sufficiently robust and reliable to put into a definitive screening program. So make sure you have blood tests, but if you get a negative test, don't just assume that you're clear, because 1 in 7 men will have prostate cancer. Now, the second one is what we call a digital rectal examination. That's where they actually put the finger up and have a feel. That isn't all that reliable, but it's as reliable as the guy that's doing it. And if it's an oncologist, a consultant that's doing it every day, 5 or 6 times a day, his reliability will be very good. But if you've got a young GP that doesn't do it frequently, the reliability is much less. But the best way is to have these done together. Don't just have a blood test, insist on having this. If you have them together, it's a more reliable situation. And then you can have a urine sample, but it doesn't tell you right now, but it will eliminate things like infections. Saddle choice can be important. There is no hard evidence as such yet to say that cycling enhances or creates prostate cancer. There's been 1 or 2 studies that sort of suggest that it's possible, but there's been others that say, well, there's no real link. The benefit of cycling, though, it has greater benefits because it's mind, it's heart and lungs, it's well-being, so you go out and do it. But there is a link between prostate problems and cycling, such as what we call prostatitis, which is irritation or inflammation of the prostate, and choice of seats can be beneficial there, especially where they've got a groove in or a cutout, so you're not getting direct pressure up between the sit bones. The prostate is up between the sit bones. If you've got a cutout there, it's actually taking that pressure away, and it's reducing your chance of irritating the prostate. Any questions?
Am I right in thinking there's nothing really you can do if you're going to get it? It's going to happen to you. Cancer, prostate cancer.
When you say there's nothing you can do, no. If you've got it, well, the sooner you get it, the sooner you, as soon as it's diagnosed, early treatment, like with any cancer, is the key.
But I mean, actually contracting the cancer, there's no lifestyle things that you can do to stop it.
No, the biggest risk factor is family. The biggest risk factor is family. But if you're diagnosed, the sooner you get the treatment, the better. But the key thing also is that when they test it, it's the aggressiveness. Because if it's slow growing, quite often they don't need to treat it. But if it's like mine, 9 out of 10 on the Gleason score, possibly 12 months and that's it. And they've controlled mine at the moment, but if it escapes, it's a major problem.
Sorry, how did you know that yours had become more aggressive?
I didn't know mine was more aggressive.
The doctors told you, didn't they?
The aggressiveness is determined by biopsy. My symptoms were getting worse, if that's what you mean. The problem is with symptoms, when we get 60 odd, 70% of men will have an enlarged prostate. And the signs and symptoms of an enlarged prostate, a lot of them mimic prostate cancer. So it's very difficult when you struggle weeing and you're weeing frequently and things like that. It's very difficult to differentiate between an enlarged prostate and prostate cancer, and the only way you can do that is by having not so much GP test screening, but hospital checks where they'll do an MRI scan and they'll do biopsy.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. Thank you.